Okay, so imagine a secret history of Earth, right? One filled with these like massive catastrophes that have been deliberately hidden away, classified CIA stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're digging into today, this whole idea of a global catastrophe cycle.
We are diving headfirst into it.
And it's not just, wild speculation. It's actually rooted in newly available information.
Yeah.
There's this CIA document, but also the full version that was hidden until recently.
It's like finding a missing chapter, isn't it?
Totally, a hidden chapter to our planet's story.
Right. And this deep dive, it really builds on things we've touched on before, hasn't it? We've sort of laid some groundwork hinting that something big might be coming.
Yeah, we have. So maybe it's worth just quickly revisiting some of that, just to set the stage for this new Chan Thomas material.
Good idea. Because those earlier discussions, they were like putting together puzzle pieces, weren't they?
They really were, and we found some, well, pretty startling coincidences. Things that suggest this recurring pattern of destruction, like the Earth hits a reset button every so often.
Yeah, like that Air Force major's work you mentioned. He found mass extinctions lining up with magnetic reversals roughly every 12,000 years.
Right, and he actually told the CIA and Pentagon about it.
And then there was that accountant, totally separate, analyzing old literature, and he came up with a really similar 12,000-year cycle. Even after they recalibrated carbon dating in the 90s, his timeline still held up, which, makes it seem stronger.
It does, and it ties into the fossil record, too. You see these magnetic reversals, these big die-offs, and then new species appearing.
And that 12,000-year thing, it links back to potential carbon dating hiccups, right? Because of ice sheets maybe shielding cosmic rays.
Exactly. It could skew the dates, making things seem younger than they are. It's a fascinating connection.
And we also talked about the possibility that during these events, it's not uniform destruction. Maybe only half the Earth gets the worst of it.
Right, and the work of people like Robert Felix, building on Kubier, Hibbins, Dew, they weren't talking gradual change.
No, it was violent shifts. Earth's rotation, tilt, huge sea level surges, magnetic poles flipping.
Yeah, cataclysmic stuff. And then there's the undeniable fact that our own magnetic field is changing, like, really fast just in the last century or so.
That acceleration, it makes you wonder.
It really does. Makes a lot of researchers think we might be getting close to the next event.
And even looking way back, Dr. Ryken's million-year cycle shows the same pattern. Magnetic flip, sea level chaos, mass extinction. They seem to go together.
Okay, so the evidence points to a cycle. But, what triggers it? Is it linear? Like something out in the galaxy hits us, boom, disaster.
Or is it more like resonance? Something external kind of rings Earth's bell and our internal systems respond.
That's the big question, isn't
Yeah.
it? Linearity versus resonance.
And the fact that Earth's magnetic field is already acting weirdly, seemingly before any huge solar flare or galactic hit. That leans towards resonance, maybe.
It does suggest something more complex than just dominoes falling. Maybe an internal process gets kicked off first, foreshadowing the bigger stuff.
Which brings us right to the main event today. Chan Thomas.
For ages, all we had was that 57-page CIA version of his book, The Adam and Eve Story. Super sanitized.
Oh, yeah. Heavily redacted. You could just tell stuff was missing.
But even then, it hinted at something huge, right? Electromagnetic disruption messing with the Earth's low-velocity zone, making it more plastic.
Exactly. That semi-molten layer under the crust. The idea was this disruption could let the crust actually shift. But like you said, it felt incomplete.
Definitely. Just a glimpse.
But then, thanks to Adrian Demeaux and Gary Long, who really dug for it,
Amazing work.
they found the full version, the complete Adam and Eve story, postlude and all.
And people can actually see it right, page by page on suspectsky.com.
Yeah, you can flip through the whole thing. It's worth doing.
So what did this complete version, especially the postlude, actually reveal?
Oh, it's eye-opening. First off, it leaves zero doubt the book is about a massive catastrophe.
No ambiguity there.
None. And he talks about mammoths found encased not just in ice, but in mud. Like a tsunami of freezing mud. Wow. That sounds chaotic.
It really does. And it lines up incredibly well with Dr. Laviolent's work we've discussed. Flash-frozen giants buried in muck.
That mud detail is key. What else?
Well, he talks about Earth's geological layers, the strata. He argues they show a kind of uniformity that points to a massive global mixing event, a cataclysm.
Makes sense.
And he brings up the idea that the asteroid belt could be the remains of a destroyed planet.
Which echoes a lot of old myths, doesn't it?
It does, and it fits that resonance model of the solar system interconnected events, maybe even destructive ones, shaping things.
Interesting. Did he mention survivors?
Yeah, he talks about survivors in different places experiencing different levels of devastation, which, makes you look at ancient petroglyphs differently. Were those sites chosen because they were somehow safer?
Hmm. Potential survival zones marked in stone. That's a thought.
But here's the real kicker, the connection that just, well, it changes things.
Okay.
Chan Thomas was a student of Hannes Alfvén.
Whoa, wait. Alfvén, the plasma universe pioneer, like Anthony Peratt?
The very same. Thomas was deep into plasma physics, the plasma universe model.
That's huge. That connection alone. Maybe that's why it was so heavily classified.
It could be a massive part of it, because Thomas wasn't just talking history, he was focused on magnetohydrodynamic power, MHD.
The interaction between magnetic fields and charged stuff like plasma or molten rock.
Exactly. He saw MHD as the key to understanding Earth's crustal stability or instability through that low velocity zone and how geomagnetic forces affect its plasticity.
Okay, so he's applying plasma physics concepts to Earth geology.
Right. Now, here's where it gets nuanced. Thomas believed the trigger was galactic, specifically crossing a magnetic null zone.
Which we now think of as the galactic current sheet.
Precisely, where the galaxy's overall magnetic field flips direction. He thought crossing this would cause Earth's low-velocity zone to sort of seize up, lose its plasticity, leading to crustal displacement.
So a galactic trigger.
Yes, but here's a potential point of divergence. He specifically thought it wasn't a galactic superwave, just this null zone crossing. But he was definitely onto something with the galactic influence. These null zones are the current sheets. That idea fits perfectly with the galactic triggers we've talked about before.
And we're seeing more evidence for these huge galactic fields now, right? Like that nanodust clinging to structures in space.
Absolutely. It reinforces the plasma universe model, the idea of vast electric and magnetic fields out there. Even mainstream places like national labs and NASA are increasingly looking at the galactic nucleus as a plasma current phenomenon.
It's amazing how things are converging.
It really is.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a piece missing in Thomas's picture.
What is that?
The sun. He focuses so much on the galactic trigger affecting Earth directly.
Oh.
He doesn't seem to consider the sun's reaction much.
Because it's hard to imagine our solar system hitting a major galactic boundary like the current sheet without the sun also reacting strongly, right?
Exactly. So this brings us back to that linearity versus resonance thing.
Maybe it's not just one domino.
Yeah.
Maybe the galactic event entering the current sheet starts Earth's magnetic reversal first, and then that triggers, or coincides with, a massive solar outburst, a multi-stage event.
That seems much more plausible, doesn't it? The complex interplay between galactic forces, the sun, and the Earth. Not just a simple A causes B.
So, okay. If this work connects plasma physics, galactic cycles, Earth changes, why bury it? Why classify it so heavily?
Well, the plasma universe connection is probably a big one. Think about it. If you understand these fundamental plasma interactions,
Unlimited energy potential.
that's certainly one major implication. Tapping into the energy source of stars, potentially. That's world-changing stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's a motive. What else?
Control. Understanding the forces that govern the planet, potentially predicting or even influencing these cycles. That's immense power. Controlling people's understanding of it, too.
And military applications.
Always a possibility, unfortunately. Superweapons, advanced propulsion, maybe even manipulating gravity. If you crack the code of these fundamental forces, the applications could be staggering. You can see why governments might want to keep a tight lid on it.
Right. It makes a kind of scary sense. But look, the point of us talking about this, bringing this all up, it's not to freak people out.
Absolutely not. It's not about fear. It's about awareness, preparedness, maybe.
Yeah. Just understanding that these cycles might be real. Yeah. Thinking about, what you'd actually do in the first moments of some huge event.
Basic stuff, really. Is hunkering down the right move where you are? Should you think about getting away from big cities, having some water, food, basic supplies? Knowing a few things after an event could be vital.
It's information, not panic fuel.
Exactly. And maybe on a different level, this awareness just encourages us to, live a bit more responsibly, enjoy things, but understand consequences.
Yeah, appreciate the stability we have, perhaps. And it's weirdly comforting, in a way, seeing those petroglyphs, those ancient markers.
It shows resilience, doesn't it? People survived before. Our species found ways. Maybe those sites hold clues.
A library of survival, etched in rock.
But ultimately, Chan Thomas himself, like others who studied this, he believed the next event was coming. Soon, even. He called it Nova's Tempest.
Imminent. That's a heavy word.
It is. We don't know the timing, obviously. But the convergence of evidence, it definitely gives you pause.
Okay, so let's just quickly wrap the key things we pulled from this. The full Chan-Thomas work, finally seeing the light of day.
The critical link to Hannes Elfven and the plasma universe model, that's huge.
The idea of a galactic trigger, the current sheet, maybe initiating things.
But also the strong likelihood that the sun plays a major role, making it a potentially complex, multi-stage event.
And the very compelling reasons why this kind of knowledge might have been kept under wraps for so long. Energy, control, technology.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah.
If the universe is interconnected in the ways the plasma model suggests, and if these events might unfold non-linearly, what subtle signs might we be missing right now? In Earth systems, in space weather, in solar activity? What connections are we not seeing yet?
Something to definitely keep thinking about. Keep digging. Keep questioning.